Hello everyone, Joshua Ayuk here. Today we are doing something a bit different. Okay, so the Resident Evil 4 remake will release in only 2 months. So to prepare myself for the release of Resident Evil 4 remake, I'm actually going to release my tier list of all the Resident Evil games. Of course, I'm only including games that I have actually played, so not every game will be included in this list. And I actually played all the mainline games, so this tier list will be pretty complete anyway, so don't worry. The only games that I did not play are the Revelations games, and a few spin-offs like Mercenaries 3D and I think the Dead Aim games and a few others. Yeah, I played most of the games, so don't worry. Anyway, before we actually start rating the games, I actually want to preface this. Just because I don't rate a game very high on this list does not mean it's necessarily bad. Well, except for Umbrella Corps. Yeah, that game is garbage. Spoiler. So do not get offended if I rate your favorite game low. I actually think 90% of the games in the series are really good. The games that are actually bad are actually very few, so don't worry. So we actually start with the E tier. Yeah, I named the tiers of this tier list after the ranks in the games. So it's A, B, C, D, and the A tier. So the A tier contains games that are truly garbage, low effort cash grabs. And to no one's surprise, there's only one game contained in the E tier. This game is Umbrella Corps. Oh, who would have thought? Okay, so Umbrella Corps is truly something else. I'm actually astounded at how bad this game is. Holy jeez. Man, when I first saw this game, I thought it was an April Fool's joke. This game is a generic third-person shooter with the worst camera I have ever seen. This game lacks so much content. There's not even a story mode in this game. All you do is complete generic missions over and over and over and over again. Usually missions where you kill random enemies or retrieve virus samples. Yeah, man, this game is fucking awful. And the only cool thing about this game is that you can actually find some maps from the original games in HD. So, like, there's the village from Resident Evil 4, the RPD from RE2. So yeah, the only good thing about this game is the fact that you can see those maps in HD, and it's actually pretty neat. But aside from that, this game is fucking garbage. It has zero content, no story mode, and yeah, this game was dead on arrival. As soon as it came out, the player base left thanks to the zero effort that the developers put into this game. This game is fucking horrible, and this is why this game deserves the A tier. Okay, now we already move on to the D tier. So yeah, Umbrella Corps is the worst game in the franchise, and the other games are already much better than this. That's why we are moving to the D tier. The games in the D tier have at least some effort put into them, but they do have some serious flaws. And the first game in the D tier is, drum roll please, Resident Evil 6. Oh boy. Okay, I think the Resident Evil 6 fans will hate me for this, but there is a reason why this game is the most infamous game in the series. This game has got great gameplay and some really interesting ideas, especially in the plot department. However, the level design is truly fucking atrocious. You are constantly interrupted by stupid QuickTime events, linear chase sequences, and just weirdly designed elements in general. Because of the garbage level design, the amazing combat never gets a chance to shine outside of Mercenaries. The enemy designs are really dumb, like guys with ostrich legs that make duck sounds, and the plot is fucking stupid. It's so batshit insane that even for RE standards, it's basically impossible to take the plot seriously in this fucking game. This is a game that jumped the shark so hard that even the action fans of the series said, okay, that's enough. However, since the game is a co-op, you can actually have some really good fun with this game. If you play the game in co-op, you could theoretically raise this game to C tier. However, for the sake of this tier list, I will still put it into D tier. Okay, and that was actually the only game that is in C tier. Yeah, so yeah, I'm sorry guys, but I just consider Umbrella Corps and Resident Evil 6 the worst games in the series. Although even RE6 is still much better than Umbrella Corps. I'm sorry guys. I'm actually going to play Resident Evil 6 with Ant-Man after I'm done with Resident Evil 5. I will probably have lots of fun, but still, the game has got too many flaws for me to put it any higher. So, now let's move to the C tier. These are really good games, but are unfortunately marred by some really dumb decision choices. So yeah, these games are pretty good, but they do have some stupid things in them that lower the score a bit. That's why I put these games in C tier. Okay, so the first game in the C tier is Resident Evil Gaiden. This game is actually a decent game for Game Boy Color. Yeah, considering it's a Game Boy Color game, it's actually pretty decent. It's also one of the few games that stars Barry Burton, so that's always a plus. However, the combat system in this game makes every enemy encounter extremely frustrating. This is why I really dislike playing this game. I suppose they made the combat annoying to incentivize running away from zombies. However, the corridors in this game are so tight that running away most of the time feels impossible. The plot of this game is also pretty stupid, with some really dumb plot twists. Yeah, the plot in this game is so dumb that Capcom decided to make this game not canon. So yeah, you don't even need to play this game because it's completely not canon. That's why I will put this game in C tier. It's an okay game, but it's really not fun to play for me, for the reasons that I explained before. So to the C tier you go. Okay, the second game that I will put in the C tier, and I'm going to get a lot of angry comments about this. Resident Evil, The Dark Side Chronicles. Oh man, I can already hear the angry fanboys. And don't get me wrong, Dark Side Chronicles is actually not a bad game. And I'm really truly sad to place this game in the C tier. This game does so many things right. It allows you to re-experience RE2 and Code Veronica stories with better graphics and better voice acting. It fixed Steve Burnside, yeah, because in the original game Steve was really annoying, and in the Dark Side Chronicles Steve is actually a much better character. Although to be honest, I really enjoy Steve in the original game for ironic reasons. Yeah, he's really funny. And this game also did something really amazing. It gave some much needed backstory to Krauser from Resident Evil 4. Yeah, it was really fucking cool to actually get the backstory to Krauser from Resident Evil 4. The Operation Javier campaign was really cool, and it's a shame that his backstory was not explained in Resident Evil 4, but at least this game remedied that. But I'm still going to rate this game low on the C tier. Why? Well, this game has got a really awful flaw. In an attempt to make this game more cinematic compared to Umbrella Chronicles, they added an insane amount of camera shake to every freaking level of the game. This makes playing the game a nauseating experience, and yeah, this completely ruins the game for me. Holy fucking shit, the camera in this game is fucking awful. It's constantly shaking, and you can barely see anything, and I get really sometimes dizziness, or honestly it also makes the gameplay worse, because most of the time I cannot even aim because the camera is constantly shaking, and fuck man, this is so fucking stupid. Why did they have to do this stupid shit with the camera? It's a fucking damn shame, because the first game, Umbrella Chronicles, did not have this problem. Man, what a fucking waste. Man. I'm so sorry, Dark Side Chronicles fans, but it is what it is. I honestly cannot play this game. The camera shake makes this game impossible to play for me. So, C tier, my sons. I'm sorry. Okay, now we move on to the B tier. These are games that are great, but have a few flaws. So, the first game that I will place in the B tier is Resident Evil 5. So, uh, I'm not going to lie, the first time I played Resident Evil 5, I absolutely hated it. Yeah, because I was really worried that Resident Evil 5 would mark a new direction for the series. So, this game is a complete action game. It's not scary at all, and it has got almost zero atmosphere. So, yeah, this game is not an horror game. It's completely action, and I was worried that my beloved horror series would die and be replaced by the action games. So the first time I played this game, I fucking hated it. And then when Resident Evil 6 released, I was so fucking angry that I basically stopped being a Resident Evil fan for a long fucking time. However, now that the Resident Evil games are back to being scary again, I'm no longer hating on this game. Yeah, it's still not one of my favorites, but this is an extremely enjoyable action game. It starts off really strong, but the reason why I put it in B tier is because it's I honestly think this game is just a worse RE4. I mean, this game starts off really strong, but I feel like the longer the game goes on, the more the level design becomes uninspired. The early locations, like the village and the mines, have some interesting level designs and gimmicks, but by the end of the game, yeah, the game just becomes a corridor shooter with barely anything interesting going on. I also find the locations to provide almost zero horror factor and very little atmosphere. Yeah, this is why I rate this game a B tier. Like I said before, I really prefer the horror games, not the action games. And the game is fun as heck in co-op though, so with a good partner, this game could theoretically be placed in the A tier. So, of course, like I said, I'm rating this game for the single player experience, so B tier it is. Okay guys, now the next game on my list, it's Resident Evil Resistance. Okay. Resident Evil Resistance is actually a really interesting game, to say the least. The game is pretty unbalanced, and it has got some truly awful problems, like it has not got any servers. It's a P2P game, so peer-to-peer. So sometimes the game can be quite laggy. However, the reason why I'm rating the game on B tier is because, yeah, this reason is one of my personal reasons. So yeah, if you play this game, you might actually put it much lower. But the reason why I'm putting Resident Evil Resistance in the B tier is because one of my dreams was always to play as a bad guy in the Resident Evil universe and actually control the monsters in the game. Yeah, I always thought that would be really cool, and this game allowed me to do just that. Yeah, because yeah, playing as a survivor it's just okay, but honestly, playing as a mastermind is some of the funniest gameplay that I ever had in an online game. So for this reason, I'm putting Resident Evil Resistance in the B tier. Um, yeah, I know I'm pretty biased, but yeah, this game, when played as a mastermind, it's fucking hilarious. So let's move on to the next game, or should I say, games. Yeah, for the next place, in the B tier, I'm going to place both Outbreak games. Yeah, the Outbreak games are really fucking awesome, and I wish they they would actually remake them with the RE engine, using the new gameplay from RE2 and RE3 remakes. Because honestly, the Outbreak games are fucking incredible. Holy shit. Yeah, it's an amazing game, both of them, because they allow you to experience the viewpoint of the survivors of the city, and you get so many cool levels and ideas that allow you to explore more of Raccoon City. And honestly, if this game was not released on PS2 and was a PS3 game, I would have rated it much higher. The only reason why I put the Outbreak games in the B tier is because playing them single player is kinda of a pain in the ass. Yeah, these games are really fucking hard, and playing them alone is fucking annoying because you have to babysit the AI constantly. And yeah, playing these games online is the true way to experience them, but the online of the PS2 was not very good, to say the least. So unfortunately, even though these games are amazing, I do have to put them in B tier. But I still hope that one day we will get a remake of them. Moving on, the next game that I will put in the B tier is Resident Evil 0. Yes, Resident Evil 0. I will actually put Resident Evil 0 below Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil Resistance. Okay, this game is actually not that bad, but it is definitely the weakest game in the classic Resident Evil lineup, I guess. Yeah, when I played this game, I was pretty positive on my channel about it, but honestly, thinking about it, this game has got a lot of fucking bullshit. So, first things first, the start of this game is amazing. The train level is really fucking cool. Probably one of the coolest starting levels in the classic Resident Evil games. But as soon as you get out of the train, you enter an area that is really boring. Yeah, to be honest, the training area, I guess, yeah, I think that's what it was called, the training facility. Yeah, that area is pretty boring. I never liked it, honestly. The training facility is pretty much just a more boring version of the Spencer mansion, and honestly, it's a really boring location. Uh, and I also think that this game, not having item box, yeah, because this game does not have item boxes, uh, this game becomes really fucking frustrating because every time that you move to a new area, you have to waste time to grab all your shit and move it to a new area. And this makes the game really fucking annoying to replay because in the other games, for example, if I'm playing a RE2 original game, I can just place all my shit in the item box, and then when I leave the police station and reach the sewers, I just open the box and all my shit is there. But yeah, in Resident Evil Zero, I have to go back to the save room in the training facility, grab all the fucking items, and then I have to go to the laboratory and drop the items to the save room in the laboratory. And if I did not have enough space, I might even have to do a couple of trips um, uh, moving stuff around, and this makes the game really a pain in the ass to replay. Yeah, this is probably the biggest gripe with this game that I have. They really should have put item boxes in this game. Even if you can drop items on the ground, you still should have been able to drop items on the item box. And there are another couple of reasons why I put it on B tier. First of all, well, actually, the second reason why I put it on B tier is because the enemies in Resident Evil Zero sometimes are really annoying and badly designed. The monkeys are really fast and really difficult to eat, and they are a really annoying enemy, honestly. The Lichmen, they are also very annoying because when they are transforming, they become invincible. So, a player that does not know this might actually waste some Molotovs or ammo on them. And yeah, it's really stupid. And finally, this game has got the worst boss in the fucking franchise. The giant bat is the worst boss in the Resident Evil franchise. Jesus Christ. Man, this boss is terrible. Yeah, the giant bat is bad not because it's difficult, it's because it's completely broken. Yeah, because the giant bat flies around constantly, and the auto aim targets the small bats that he summons. This makes hitting the boss almost impossible. Yeah, this game really should have fixed the bat boss, at least for the remastered version. Yeah, because it's fucking broken. One couple of suggestions that I have. They should have actually made the auto aim not target the small bats, or they could have just put the option to disable auto aim in the game. Oh well. And it's for these reasons that I consider Resident Evil Zero the weakest game in the Resident Evil Classic lineup, and I put it at the bottom of B tier. Okay guys, now the next game in the B tier is Resident Evil Code Veronica. Okay, so this game, I actually enjoy this game much more than Resident Evil Zero. And this is why I'm going to put Resident Evil Zero at the bottom of the B tier and Resident Evil Code Veronica at the top of the B tier. Code Veronica is honestly an amazing game, but it does have some flaws. The story of this game is really cool and very interesting. I really loved seeing the Ashford twins. The Ashford twins are very interesting characters, and they are very fun. I also extremely enjoyed seeing Wesker return. Yeah, the cutscene where Wesker returns and faces Claire for the first time, that cutscene is probably one of my favorite cutscenes ever made, at least in the Resident Evil franchise. And I also really enjoy the locations in this game, and the soundtrack is amazing. The only reason I put it at the top of B tier is because this game does have some flaws, like the level design is a bit it's a bit annoying, because in Code Veronica there are not many shortcuts, and most of the level design is very linear. So when you have to backtrack from one end of the map to the other for key items and shit, it's a bit boring, because you are constantly going back and forth throughout the map, and you do not really have shortcuts like you have in the Spencer Mansion or the RPD. So this is why I'm considering the backtracking in this game a bit annoying. Also, I think that some of the bosses in this game are a bit unbalanced. Like the Tyrant on the plane is a bit too hard, and it's really easy to softlock yourself if you did not save enough ammo. And I also think that they could have executed the character switch better. Like they should have given you the option to get your items that you had with Claire when you switch with Chris, because technically the game is doable even if you don't get the items from Claire, because I did it before. Yeah, you can play Chris without using the Claire items. I did it before, I know. But it's kinda annoying that if you leave items on Claire during the character switches sections, you're basically fucked. So, for these reasons, I will place Code Veronica on the B tier. However, honestly, if it were up to me, I would easily put this game on the A tier, and I really hope that this game will get a remake. Yeah, because Code Veronica is an amazing game, and if they fix the few flaws that it has, it might become a masterpiece. So, let's continue now. Okay, so the next game on the B tier, which I'm going to put right next to the Outbreak games. So, it's Resident Evil, The Umbrella Chronicles. Yeah, this game is really fucking fun. I really enjoyed seeing all the classic locations redone in 3D and in HD. I think the only flaw of this game is that the RE3 scenario is kinda half-assed. Yeah, because you don't actually visit many areas from RE3 in this game. You only visit locations from the Outbreak games, which is kind of a shame. But I guess at least this game has got the Gravedigger boss. Yeah. I'm looking at you, RE3 Remake. Yeah, and honestly, this game is really fun to play. I really enjoy playing the Umbrella Chronicles, getting headshots, finding files. The music in this game is really fucking good, and yeah, honestly, it was a really nice nostalgia trip for me. Very enjoyable game, which I wish I could say the same for Darkside Chronicles, but the camera in that game is fucking garbage, compared to Umbrella Chronicles at least. Okay, now we are going to move to the A tier. Okay, so these are games that are incredibly good, but they are not perfect. They have some flaws that kinda mar the experience, if you know what I mean. And the first game that I'm going to put in the A tier is, drum roll, please, Resident Evil 3 Remake. Oh man, I can already hear the comments saying that I am a stupid idiot for liking this shitty ass remake. But this game, it's amazing. The Resident Evil 3 remake is a terrible remake because it's very unfaithful to the original game, and you do not even explore the same locations from the original game in this remake. Yeah, it's completely different. You basically explore completely new locations or locations reused from RE2 remake in this remake, and it's kind of a shame that they cut so much content from this game. But I'm rating this game on the A tier because even if this game is a terrible remake, this game has got an insanely good gameplay. Holy shit, this game is incredible. Yeah, to be honest, I kinda think this game might have the best gameplay out of all the RE Engine games. The dodge function was greatly improved from the original game. Yeah, in the original game, the dodge was completely worthless, which is why I never used it. And the dodge in this game, the remake, it's incredible. It's really fucking fun to use, and because of the dodge, every encounter you have with with enemies in this game basically becomes a skill-based encounter, which is really fucking fun. Also, thanks to the dodge function, the bosses in the RE3 remake are insanely fun, and I'm also going to rate this game on the A tier because the story is amazing. Yeah, even though they cut a lot of content from this game, the story is really fucking good. I really love Jill, Carlos, and all the characters in this game. They've got amazing voice acting, amazing personalities, and yeah, it's honestly, this is probably the best Resident Evil movie that we never got. And one last reason why I am putting this game in the A tier is because, um, well, I basically think that the Nightmare and Inferno difficulties are the best unlockables ever. Yeah, when I first played the Resident Evil 2 remake, I played the game on hardcore mode, and it made the game really challenging. However, after a while, I became so good at hardcore mode that now hardcore mode is basically no different than normal mode to me. So having two additional difficulties that you can choose, which also change a lot of things and move items around, enemy spawns and shit, is really fucking awesome. And Nemesis in Nightmare mode is actually extremely fun to fight against, and yeah, playing in Nightmare mode is definitely my favorite way to play this game. I usually don't play Inferno mode very often, unless I want to use infinite items. But if I don't use bonus items, I usually roll in Nightmare mode, because I think Nightmare mode is the best way to play this game. It's really difficult but fair, and this difficulty is the only difficulty that actually makes Nemesis feel really threatening, just like he was in the original game. So, for all these reasons, the amazing gameplay, the incredible dodge feature, the great story, and the really cool unlockable difficulties, I'm going to rate Resident Evil 3 Remake in the A tier. Okay. Now we move to Resident Evil 1, the original game. Yeah, this game is an easy A tier. I actually kinda like this game a bit more than the remake, if you can believe that. I really like this game because the mansion is a really iconic setting, and I also really like that this game is a bit more open-ended compared to RE2 and RE3. Like when you play as Jill, thanks to the lockpick, you can actually well, you can actually get some key items out of order, and you do not need to play this game the same way every time. You can basically get some items earlier and shit, and it's really fun. Yeah, this game is honestly really fun. It's where the series first started, and the mansion is really fucking iconic. The only downsides are that honestly the zombie AI is really stupid because it's the first game, so they had not perfected the AI yet, I guess. And the voice acting is terrible, but in a good way because it's hilarious. So yeah, because of this, I'm going to rate the Resident Evil 1 original game on the A tier. And right next to the Resident Evil 1 original game, I'm going to put the Resident Evil 1 remake. Okay, I can already hear people bitching at me. Come on, Josh, why do you not put Resident Evil 1 remake on the S tier? This game is the perfect remake and it's amazing. Okay, I have my reasons. And let me explain to you why I think Resident Evil 1 remake is a bit overrated. Okay, don't get me wrong, Resident Evil 1 remake is an amazing game, but I have a few gripes with it, and I think it's a bit overrated. First of all, the pacing in this game is much slower compared to the original game. Yeah, this game is really slow. Man, the original game was much faster paced, which I actually don't like. Yeah, the slower pacing really makes replaying this game kind of a pain in the ass. And also, the new layout of the Spencer Mansion is much more linear and also more slow to travel around. On every playthrough, you have to start by... Yeah, remember when I said that in the original game, you can kinda get some key items before others and shit? Well, in the Resident Evil 1 remake, in every playthrough, you have to start by getting the book of curses and the sword key. In the original game, when you played as Jill, you weren't this restricted with the sequence of key items. Then I also kinda do not like that they did not give us the option to skip door animations. And yeah, it's kinda annoying on repeat playthroughs that you cannot skip the door animations. The developers said the door animations were not needed for loading times. They just added them for nostalgia's sake, which is pretty cool, don't get me wrong, but they make the slow ass pacing even more unbearable. An option to skip them after the first playthrough would have been nice. The running animation is also so fucking slow. I usually enjoy speedrunning Resident Evil games, but Resident Evil Remake for some reason feels the slowest game of them all. Even RE7 running speed felt faster, for fuck's sake. Then I found out that you can unequip your gun and you will run faster, which I think is really stupid. Yeah, let me think other gripes I have with the game. Like, for example, the Crimson Heads are a neat idea on paper, but are a bit underwhelming because they die very easily to a few shotgun shells and are honestly not very threatening. Also, if you waste time to burn bodies, it makes the pacing even more slower because you have to waste time with the item box to grab lighter and fuel every time. And oh, speaking of Crimson Heads, the nerf to the shotgun headshot chance is really annoying to me. The most fun thing in RE is getting headshots with the shotgun. I love the shotguns in RE2, RE3, and RE2 Remake and RE3 Remake. But the shotgun in Remake was completely gutted and made into an RNG-based weapon. So this makes it really unfulfilling to use. And if you don't know what RNG stands for, it means random number generator. So basically, yeah, headshot chance in the remake is random, which I don't like. And there are other small gripes I have with the game, but I'm not going to list them all because I will end up making the video too long. But just know this: I think the Resident Evil 1 remake is an amazing game. I really enjoy how the Spencer Mansion looks in the remake. I love the new additions like Lisa Trevor backstory, the new rooms they added to the mansion and shit. However, those small gripes that I have with the game that I mentioned basically transform this game from an S tier game into an A tier for me. So I'm sorry, Resident Evil 1 remake fans, but it is what it is. It's my tier list, so I will do what I want. I'm sorry. Okay, moving on. The next game in the A tier is Resident Evil Village. Okay, so Resident Evil Village is a really fun game, but I'm putting it in the A tier because I honestly think Resident Evil 7 was better. Harry Village is a bit disappointing for me because it's a bit too linear and also a bit too cinematic for my tastes. Like for example, you really cannot explore much in this game. Aside from the village sections, which you can freely explore, the other sections, like the castle, the Beneviento house, the mines, no wait, not the mines, the lake, and the factory. Okay, yeah, those are the 4 major locations. All those locations are very linear, and the game basically spells out where you need to go almost at all times, aside from a couple exceptions like in the Beneviento house, I guess. And this is why I'm going to rate Harry Village in the A tier. It's because I honestly liked RE7 more. RE7 was more scary, and Harry Village is really not that much scary, aside from a couple of sections. But it's still a really fun game. I really enjoy Harry Village, so it's still a good game. And that's why Harry Village deserves the A tier. And now we finally move to the S tier. The S tier are games that are almost flawless to me, but they are not my favorites. Yeah, the S plus tier is reserved for my favorite games in the franchise. So the S tier games are almost flawless to me, but they are not my favorites. That's why I made 2 S tiers. Okay, first game in S tier is Resident Evil 7. Okay, so like I mentioned before, after Resident Evil 6 released, I was so angry with the franchise for turning into a generic action game that I basically stopped being a Resident Evil fan for a long time. So yeah, I think I actually stopped being a Resident Evil fan from RE6, yeah, from RE6 release date up until RE2 remake release date. So it's almost 10 years, I think, maybe even more. However, Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 2 won me back. Basically, thanks to RE2 remake and the Resident Evil 7, I'm now a fan of the Resident Evil games again, just like I was when I was a kid. Because Resident Evil 7 brought the horror back to the series, and not only brought the horror back, this game is honestly one of the scariest games I have ever played in my life. I actually played Resident Evil 7 with headphones the first time, and the atmosphere is incredible. Even just wandering around the Baker house makes me shit my pants, because you can hear a lot of creepy sounds, and then there's Jack that stalks you and makes you piss your pants. And I even enjoy the boat section, because I think the boat section is the scariest section in the game. Holy shit, there are so many incredible things, like respawning, crawling molded, that scare the shit out of me. The creepy sounds that play all over the rusty and crickety boat. And honestly, this game is fucking awesome. I fucking love Resident Evil 7. It's not one of my favorites, but it's definitely up there. Honestly, the only gripe I have with RE7 is the fact that you cannot skip cutscenes, and I guess I wish the game was a bit more open-ended, because it's a bit linear, but it's still an amazing game, and I'm so happy that it brought the series back from the brink after that shitty Resident Evil 6 game. So, this is why Resident Evil 7 is an S tier game. The other game in the S tier is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the original game. Yeah, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is a better game than the remake, although I enjoy both games for different reasons. However, I think the original Resident Evil 3 game is a bit better than the remake, because there are more locations that you explore, less linear cutscenes, and also I think that Nemesis in the original game was scary as fuck. Don't get me wrong, I also think Nemesis in the remake is pretty scary, especially in nightmare mode, but in the original game it was executed much better, and honestly, every time Nemesis appeared in the original game, it scared the shit out of me. And I think honestly the locations in the original game are also really fucking cool. I wish the clock tower was in the remake. The only gripe I have with Resident Evil 3 original game is that the dodge is completely worthless. But at least you can play the game without using the dodge. It's actually pretty easy. I have done it a bunch of times, so it's okay. It's not a big flaw. So, because of this, and also because Resident Evil 3 Nemesis was a game from my childhood. I'm going to rate it on the S tier. If only Resident Evil 3 Remake would get a DLC, it would probably reach the S tier as well. Oh well. Okay. The next game that I will put in the S plus tier is Resident Evil 2, both the original and the remake. For different reasons, I really love Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 2 remake. These two games are my favorite Resident Evil games in the franchise, and honestly, Resident Evil 2 is actually one of my favorite games ever, period. Resident Evil 2 was also the first game that I ever played in the Resident Evil franchise, so I have a lot of nostalgia for it. And let me tell you all about why this game is amazing. Resident Evil 2, the original game, is amazing because the police station is basically an amazing setting, and it's incredibly memorable to me. The soundtrack is honestly the best soundtrack in the series, almost as good as Code Veronica and RE3 Nemesis. The difficulty is a bit easy. Yeah, the original game has got a flaw that it's a bit easy, but it's not that bad. The game still kicked my ass a buttload of times when I was a kid. So, and even if the game is a bit short, the fact that you have 4 scenarios and each scenario has got a different storyline, yeah, it's honestly amazing. This game has got an amazing replay value. And all these reasons and my nostalgia make this game my favorite game in the Resident Evil franchise. And I also rate the Resident Evil 2 remake on S plus tier. Even though there are some things that the original game does better, the remake also improves on many things from the original game. For example, the Resident Evil 2 remake is much more fun to play because it's much more challenging. Yeah, it's a much more challenging game, and they also improved, well, the graphics obviously, but they also improved Mr. X a lot. Yeah, Mr. X in the remake is amazing. It's basically Nemesis and Jack Baker on steroids. Man, the first time I played the game, Mr. X scared the shit out of me. Another thing that they improved is the sewers. They are much better, and also the laboratory section. So yeah, the remake has got better gameplay, better graphics, better bosses, and the only reason why I don't think the remake is better than the original is because the original game has got better B scenarios. In the RE2 remake, the B scenarios are kinda, well, they are kinda lazy because they only change item and puzzle locations, but everything else is the same. But still, it's still cool that we got B scenarios at all for the remake. So So I basically think the original RE2 and the Resident Evil 2 remake are basically equal. Um, the original game flaws are that it's too easy and short of a game. Mr. X is a bit underwhelming, and the sewers and the lab are a bit weak. Meanwhile, the Resident Evil 2 remake fixes all of that because it improves the gameplay, improves Mr. X, the sewers, the lab, and a bunch of other shit, but it completely guts the scenarios. So basically, these two games complete each other because each game does better what the other does worse. So, my first game in the franchise, Resident Evil 2, is an amazing game, and it's why I put it in the S Plus tier. Okay. It's only 2 months left until the release of Resident Evil 4 Remake, and now I can reveal that Resident Evil 4, the original game, is also an S Plus tier game. This game is fucking incredible. Even though I like Resident Evil 2 a bit more because it's my first game and I have more nostalgia for it, I actually, the first time I played Resident Evil 4, it blew my mind. This game, I think, has got a really great balance of action and horror. Don't get me wrong, Resident Evil 4 original game is an action game, but it's an action game done right, because it's still very scary. Just like Village, this game has got some really scary sections, so this is why I don't mind this game compared to RE5 and RE6, is because this game at least is scary sometimes. RE5 and RE6 are basically never scary. So another great thing about Resident Evil 4, the original game, is that honestly, the level design in this game is god tier. It's amazing. Yeah, the level design in RE4 is probably the best level design I have ever seen in a game, and every encounter with enemies in this game is really fresh and changes things around just enough so you do not get bored. And the pacing is amazing. You have a buttload of weapons that are all viable to play with. If you watch my Let's Teach Phil how to play RE4 video, I actually really explained all the weapons and what they do in those videos. And basically every weapon is viable in this game, unlike Resident Evil Village. So that's another amazing plus. And honestly, just the locations are incredibly atmospheric and very memorable. The enemies are also very memorable, like Dr. Salvador, the Regenerators and shit. Yeah, honestly, this game is god tier, and this is why Resident Evil 4 deserves the S Plus tier alongside Resident Evil 2. Whew. Okay, so this is my tier list of all the Resident Evil games. Next time that... by the way, I did not rate Resident Evil Rebirth because I don't know if they actually will update the game again, and since I don't want to rate an unfinished product, I'm holding on to Resident Evil Rebirth for later to rate, I guess. Okay, having said that, the Resident Evil 4 remake will release in 2 months, and I will play it on my channel when it comes out. So, thank you guys for watching this video, and we will see if Resident Evil 4 remake will surpass the original game, be just as good as the original game, or fail and be shittier than the original game. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye, my friends.